All right, everybody. Welcome to the Wake and Bake episode 7 with the Bubbleman. Hope everyone's doing well today. I had a little bit of a birthday party here last night for my daughter, so her and her 8 friends are sleeping in the other room, so I'll probably be keeping it down today. Oh, that's a funny thing that I don't often do. Shut that down real quick. Forgot to mute the YouTube video as it came on. You know I'd be screaming at Johnny B for that. Johnny, mute your mic. Classic. Anyway, another day, another wake and bake. I hope you guys all have your rigs ready. I hope you guys all have your joints ready. I hope you all have whatever it is that you're going to be using today for this wake and bake. And I understand that not all of you are in a place where you're just waking up. It is 9:12 a.m. here. I've been up for a couple hours, but I'm sure there's some of you from the East Coast, so it's afternoon over there. And I'm sure there's people from Europe and other parts that are into the later part of the day, the early evening. So yes, Cam W, David, Houdini, Anthropod, Rob Moore, Funky J, KDC, Medication Station, Game Fraction Studios, Benjamin Reed, Skater, Nerd. Hello to all of you and welcome. I think we're going to get this party started here with a little wakey bakey. Just a little one. Got this tiny little dab. It's as hard as a rock that I'm going to go in for le dunk. So please, nothing releases the logos, the language, the ability to speak, the gift of gab, if you will, like a morning bong rip. So let's get this party started. Grab your pipes if you don't have them already, because we're about to wake and bake. Are you sure he doesn't look like me, Pocket Chunk? If he's playing hockey, he's probably way younger than 44, which in case means that I was here first and he actually looks like me. Just busting your balls. Yes, this is true, Andrew Stanzel. I have always been able to talk. It's one of the things that really led me to Terrence McKenna, who I also felt had this incredible gift of gab, way past anything I've ever approached. I love his intelligence. I love his ability to articulate the message that he's sharing. And I love the things that he shared were alternative and different and not of the, the same that everyone basically was promoting. He always came at things from a little bit of a different angle. So I play hockey. Marcus, right? Yeah, Kaylee. Well, I played hockey as well. Hockey was a huge part of my life when I was younger. From right up until I was about 15, I played tier 2 hockey. Never quite good enough for the tier 1, but always managed to stay pretty solid in tier 2, at least till I was about 15. And we took it pretty serious. That was, basically my life at that point. Then I got into puffing. I met Sweet Mary Jane, and well, Sweet Mary Jane took me down a different path than that of hockey. And thank God that she did. She's been a guiding light in my life. Not saying that hockey wouldn't have been, but sports are fun. Sports are good. I feel that it's a kind of a cognitive activity, but we've taken things like sports, all the good in human life, from spirituality to sports get turned into religion and, what I guess you would call mainstream sports, which seems to be a little bit of this sort of, hey, everybody look over here. So you're not really seeing what we're doing over here. And I fall victim to it myself. I certainly don't think I'm better than anyone, but I do every once in a while watch or see like the end of some huge sporting event like FIFA World Cup or the Super Bowl or something. And I think, man, imagine how much shit we could change in the world if we could just get together with that kind of intensity for something that's actually, like good, not just like some team winning a trophy or something. But that is what it is. All right. Yes, Rob, I'm glad you took that path as well. I can't wait to see another video. I know you've been busting them out left, right, and center for Remo, and they're awesome. I'm looking forward to another Bubbleman's World video, whether it's a Hash Church joke or whether it's, Johnny B and I out on a Puff Wednesday. I appreciate your art form, and I look forward to more of those. They're very fun. So Dabbing a dunk. For those of you that wondered yesterday at 5 minutes and 56 seconds on the video of the dirt bike session in my backyard when I appeared to have dropped a piece of sift rosin, it actually fell. Check this out. It fell into the lid that I had sitting right next to the jar. So for those of you that thought it was lost, it was not lost because Bubbleman does not lose hash. This is the true story. All right. Hit number 2. Hope you guys are ready. 129 people in the room. Pretty early. Let's get this party started, shall we? I use this one. This is the camera I use for macro. It's a 5D Mark III. The lens is a 65 millimeter MPE by Canon. The flash is a MT 24EX dual Canon flash. And the, well, I don't shoot with a tripod that much anymore, but the one that I do is Manfrotto legs and a 410 gear head that has 3 points of adjustment that you can really adjust the camera forward and back, sideways, and then at these angles as well. So I'm doing great, Nicholas. Thanks for asking. Do I still like my egg? Are you kidding me? I love my egg. At the same time, it's not going to stop me from selling it. I like to use these pipes and then pass them on to the next person. Especially because clear pipes are just basically prototype. There's not really anything special about them. But if I can take one of these pipes and travel around the world with it and smoke out my famous reggae friends with it and smoke out tons of cool, epic people in the cannabis community and then put it up for sale, you know, that's a value to someone. They appreciate that, seen in the videos. This particular pipe has been in a lot of my videos. This little mini, less so. The Klein is getting up there. The Taurus probably is one of the, between the Taurus and the Egg, I probably put those in the most videos, traveled with them. My Egg and my Taurus were my go-to travel pieces, although I did still take the straight fab to Jamaica and Amsterdam and Spain. But the the Taurus and the Egg did a lot more traveling. I don't know if you could smoke crack with that thing. I can't see why not. I'm not a crack smoker. I've never smoked crack in my life. But I mean, if it's just a little thing that you just throw and you light, why couldn't you? I mean, I wouldn't personally do it, but to each their own, you know? To each their own. B-Man has over 7.5K worth of glass. 7.5K worth of glass. Listen, you've never seen my glass collection, but I can assure you that it's in the 6-digit arena of worth. I've got Marcel pieces from 1999 that are historic and classic. I've got big, giant, fully worked triple bubblers from Marble Slinger. That guy's pendant sell for like $1,000. Can you imagine what a giant triple bubbler, fully worked with tons of marbles on it? I can't even imagine what the price of that one is. And I've got some other pretty special pieces from over the years from Jason Lee, custom Bubbleman chillum with a water encased bowl. So you fill the glass with water, and when you put, it was for bud back in the day. I never really used it for bud, but if you put a bud in this dish and the water around it magnified it, you could see the crystals magnified. And the reason he did that for me was because when I met Jason Lee in 1998, when I picked him and Marble Slinger up, accidentally, if you will, although I do not believe that was an accident. I picked them up hitchhiking on the side of the road because their car broke down and I was traveling to the Gorge to see fish just by myself from Vancouver, thinking, I got to go see fish at the Gorge. It's historic. It's epic. It's ridiculous. And so down I headed to go to the Gorge, see this sort of, you know, scruffy kid on the side of the road, ends up being Slinger, pick him up. He's got Jason Lee and his girlfriend, Jason's girlfriend with him. So we ended up partying that whole weekend, chilled out. I think we even might have taken some MDMA on that weekend per se, which is a strange experience for me. I was more of a psychedelic guy, using psychedelic mushrooms more often than not for my psychedelic experiences. I'm not sure I would call MDMA a psychedelic, but it was very pleasant, very nice, and really created a strong connection to both Slinger and Jason Lee from that night. It was actually 2 nights at the Gorge. We camped there, and I didn't see those guys for a while after that, but it was an amazing first experience to bring those guys into my life, back into my life, because I'd actually met Slinger unknowingly in 1995 at the Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam. While I was videotaping this little clone machine in the corner, I have video of talking to Slinger and him telling me how he's just got out of film school in Ithaca, New York, and super, super trippy shit. When years later you've become friends with someone, it's almost like looking through their pictures from before you met and seeing a picture of you in the background of one of their pictures. It was kind of like that. How do I feel about propane extract? Well, you know, what I like to use propane for is to heat up food on my barbecue. That's about the level. And I'm not even going to lie. Like, I don't know about you guys, but aren't you a little bit nervous when you're even next to a propane tank? Like, aren't you aware that that's a bomb and that that's like compressed gas that's explosive, that could leak, that could, I just think of these things. I think of human error, and I think of the fragility of life and how fragile we are. And it doesn't keep me from doing crazy shit like jumping off cliffs on my snowboard, you know, going up to gnarly glaciers on my snowmobile, summiting mountains on my dirt bike. These are things that I feel are worthwhile. But to start playing with, you know, gas and cannabinoids, it just never really clicked with me. You know, it never really made sense that we would take something that people were so proud to call organic and then spray it with a chemical solvent. And I'll never forget the first time. PK Brewer, on a 200 line screen, you know, get a 200 line screen, which is about 70 microns, and just card over that bad boy. You can use the DVD parchment trick to create a little static and try to capture some heads that way. It's a little bit quicker. I usually card for a bit first before I try the DVD thing, but yeah, give it a shot. Hate the taste of propane. If you ever hit a joint with a torch, you know what I mean? Yeah, Josh. I mean, even the taste of butane, I can't even smoke. Listen, I'm so past the taste of propane, I won't even smoke the joint. I don't want to smoke the paper. I don't want to smoke the glue. I don't want to smoke the non-glandular vegetative plant matter that is basically just cellulose and is not glands and does not attribute to the high as much as it cuts into it. It would be like putting shit that's not food into your sandwich. You would notice it. Like, you have these abilities through your own bioassay to notice when something's been, you know, put into your drink or put into your food. So for me, I think very much like that when it comes to finding the, accessing the medicinal components of cannabis. I want to access it in as pure of a form as I can, because I understand how much it affects the outcome, whether I'm looking for a recreational adult use or medicinal outcome. The outcome I'm looking for is affected and muddled by plant matter, papers, and glue. I have used a nectar collector. I have one in my collection, absolutely. I have a D-nail nectar collector, so you don't torch it. It's just automatically heated up with the D-nail piece. I'll have to, actually, I think it's right there in the corner. Never far. I tried the D. Oh, you did it with bubble hash though? Yeah, because that's for dry sip, not bubble hash. You're going to change everything if you run it through water. Propane to heat my nail, Bubbleman. Well, I have used gas to heat my nail. I got to say, I don't even like it. I would way rather have something more portable, something like this, without this, that just had a small battery pack that it sat underneath it or something that you could just... That to me would be the ideal form of, you know, heat. Yeah, solventless glands for the win. I mean, it seems like a very strong part of cannabis's message, how amazing it is, how helpful it is, how good it is. It just seems to be good. Like, you want to show people that think it's bad, people that believe the propaganda, you want to show them, no, but look how good cannabis is. And then when you look over here and you see like, oh, that kid just blew his house down, burned the neighbors down, blew his hands off, It's all just bad, 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 bad. And then suddenly these people, like, I agree with John Conroy, the lawyer who won the injunction for the MMAR here, along with Kirk Toussaud in Canada. He said, you know, you're not doing your neighborhood or us any favors by blowing up your house or your neighbor's house. And even went as far to say, same with the smell. Like if you're growing some really rank, dank goodness and it's in a residential area, you know, use the right filter so that you're not blasting a 24/7 skunk smell out into the neighborhood, which us cannabis lovers love, but it does kind of give a little bit of ammo to the cannabis hater, which we just don't need at this point. And hey, one day maybe we'll be at a different point, but it does seem like a little bit of just a respect thing. You know, don't go blow up your neighbor's house, and maybe don't, stink the place up to the point. Don't get me wrong, I love the stink, but it's not doing us any favors when we argue for cannabis equal rights, when we want the equal rights. These are the things that they tend to, they always used to just blame prohibition and jail and the dangerousness of it. But, you know, when they have something like kids blowing up and burning their skin off, that's a substantial danger. I can imagine that freaks them out big time. And I just don't like to have it associated with cannabis at all. Yeah, I like that skunk smell smell as well, Sal. And, you know, I like the smell of curry and I like the smell of a bunch of different things. However, is it fair to blast that smell out to all your neighbors 24/7 when you could just be taking care of the problem, you know, running filters, running your room exhaust through water filters like a friend of mine used to do through 55-gallon drums of water, the Chichomatic, he called it. Those things would really, really pull an incredible amount of terpenes out of the air before it ended up blasting outside. Of course, he was doing it to avoid getting busted. He had about 5,000 plants going and close to 55 lights. So you can imagine that he was doing it for a different reason. But, well, whatever it is, you can be defiant without being a dick. All right, well, who's being a dick? I missed that. I missed that. Open blasting. Oof. I dry sifted with a 275 screen and tried to use... Well, that's the problem, Mr. Canuck. A lot of material isn't great. And so when you go to run it through bubble bags, or you go to bubble bags, would probably be the best bet for you to try first, because sifting is hard, and depending on the purity that you got, and if you even have a microscope that's strong enough, and you can even figure out with your eye what that purity is by looking at it like, oh, that's 50% or 20 or 30 or 70 or 80. That's really going to be the deciding factor on whether you've uncovered or unveiled what is there to uncover. What I mean by that, there's two aspects of cannabis concentrates that we're looking for. We're looking for incredible purity, which is the extraction results, how well you can extract. And of course, more importantly, when you extract and unveil and release all the contaminant to just the glandular trichome heads, those micro encapsulated heads, we also want to know what the quality is. And that was produced by the genetic expression of its capabilities for the variables that it overcame in that grow and the person that was taking care of it. All of those things lined up to produce the expressions of the plant. And so if you did that, like in the 9 to 10 range, which is very rare, very, very rare, not most people, I'll tell you. But if you get that into that range, and then you extract, say, using bubble bags, which is, you know, it's a no-brainer. It will extract 99.9% gland head ratio using the water and the ice. That will tell you your quality. And so if you're making dry sift and you're not getting it clean enough, that could be the problem. But more than likely, it's both. It's the quality is not a 10 and the purity is not a 10. So there's two things that you want to focus on when making hash. And so that's why, for me, an extract artist, you're an extract artist maybe if you're growing all the material. You know, if you're growing all your material and you're in control of the 3 months of variables that the cannabis has to overtake to produce its perfect genetic expression and potential of terpenes and cannabinoids, this is when you get to shine as a processor. You know, if you're just a guy that gets a bunch of material given to you and everyone blows smoke up your ass because they think you're the best hash maker in the world, don't get it mixed up. The only reason people like myself, people like Nick T and Matt Rise have shined is because we had access to the great material. And for me, I've sold these bubble bags to the majority of people. So I have a one-on-one relationship to thousands of people that own and run these bags. And I can tell you, there are many, 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 many more people than us. Obviously, through Instagram, there's now Barry's Bubble and Solventless Mind and just a whole slew of great people extracting clean, beautiful resins, Concentrated X, local Canadian, lots, don't get me wrong, but the real heroes are the genetics and the growers that are producing those cultivars. It's another reason I have big respect for Concentrated X. He's cracking his own seeds, he's finding his own phenos, and he's growing it to almost perfect genetic expressions, 5-star plus out of his concentrates, whether it's dry sift, whether it's bubble hash, whether it's dry sift or bubble hash rosin, or even flower rosin. You can absolutely tell the kid's on point for his quality. So I very much appreciate people that are doing quality. And, you're the reasons that these supposed extract artists are shining the way they are shining. And to those that are growing your own material, to guys like Cuban, guys like Concentrated X, group like Heavenly Days, these are people that are growing great material. And trust me, just like a 5-star restaurant versus a 2-star restaurant, they are the minority. There's not as many of them out there. It's always going to be easier to find a McDonald's than it is going to be to find a Lee's. And for those of you that don't know Lee's, and if you are in Toronto, I would urge you to head down to King Street, book yourself a table into Lee's. Try to go with 5 or 6 friends, because it's all kind of these medium-sized meals that you order many of and share with everyone on the table. It's one of my favorite restaurants. It's 5 to 6-star service and quality of food. And it's something that you would have otherwise not had. I would suggest the 19-ingredient coleslaw, which is the full melt coleslaw. That shit is like the 90-micron coleslaw. Has anyone noticed I've been going through the gamuts of bubble bag shirts in this Wake and Bake series? I've done the 73, I've done the 90 micron, I've done the 120 micron, I've done the 45 micron. Today I pulled out the 25, and I swear for tomorrow morning, I'm gonna have to print up like a 220, a 190, and a 160. I never thought it would be a thing that I'd wanna wear, but you know what? Pay homage to the higher screens. We lose the fact that the bubble bags are a team and that we let the 90 or the 73 shine, and that's my favorite, that's my favorite. Well, guess what? That bag would not be your favorite if it wasn't for the 190 and the 160 hanging out right over top of it. So I'm going to make 190 and 160 and 220 shirts and release them as a full bubble bag set. I think it's a cool idea, an 8-shirt set with all the different colors of the bubble bags. I don't know. I get excited about this stuff. Let's have a hit, shall we? Another pinch, another dab. I hear that a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. So here we go, a little sugar. How much costs for bubble pipe? Depends on what kind of bubble pipe you want to buy. This one, very expensive. I would guess somewhere between $300 and $3,500 US. Hell yeah, Kaylee, I will as well. We have them Houdini Grant. All of the shirts, aside from 220, 190, and 160. So I did 120, 90, 73, 45, and 25 are all available at bubblebag.com or freshheadies.com. Yes, Tom. Well, there are little tricks and tips. I'll give you guys a really great tip for those of you that are making bubble hash. For those of you that have ever run a batch and come out with a second run that was nicer or cleaner than the first run, say maybe lighter in color. And how that happens is if you're using material that's picked up dirt or debris, things that are heavy and will still sink, These are things that need to be pre-washed out of your material. So instead of taking that and pouring it all, of course, because this material is also resinous, when we dump those bags, we want to get every last bit. I often, if it's in a Ziploc bag, I'll scoop up the Ziploc bag full of water, shake it, and dump it just to make sure every last little bit is getting out of there, depending on how the material has come to me. And so when you have small little dust and debris, little pieces of dirt and rocks that are heavy, gravel maybe, real small little pieces, sand, silicone, we need to get rid of that. And so how we can do that is I like to take a Tupperware dish that's about this deep and about that wide, almost like a camping sink, if you will. And I'll take a couple 100 grams of the material and I'll pour it out into this Tupperware, and I'll just gently move it around with my hands and then pick it up and put it into the bag. I'll also even pour out some of the water and just let the sedentary stay at the bottom and not pour it through the bags, because that is what you're cleaning out. And those tiny little specks that only might make up less than 1% of the return, they will show up drastically to the naked eye and to photos, especially macro photos. And it just is something that you'd rather, it's an easy clean. And it's, the same thing I train for or teach people for dry sifting. If you take one of these little round Fieldmaster screens, see if I can get one of these guys out here. So this is 120 mesh. Actually, it's full of dry sift. That's kind of funny. It's like got dry sift from long ago. Maybe I'll press that today. So this is just a simple little method as well. The same way you want to pre-clean your material before you run it for bubble. When you're cleaning dry sift, say you're doing some carding, it's great to have a 250 micron of one of these, which will be a 60 mesh. And these are Fieldmasters, which is www.scientificfirst.com. Lots of companies sell Fieldmaster. They give you the mesh count, and they give you the micron count. So I like to use a 250 micron. And generally what I'll do is I'll just pour some of the sift that's farmer's grade into here. And then with my little magic wand, if you will, check out the hash on that bad boy. I'll just sort of gently, brush the resin through the 250. And what that really does is it gets it all, it pre-cleans it. So any little pieces that you couldn't even see with your naked eye will be left in that screen. And you could use a 200 if you wanted and go down to 180 and can, brush it through that way. It's kind of a nice way. It gets it ready for the carding and the DVD. So that's basically two really nice tricks that I think you guys will enjoy if you're in the hash making community. And yeah. Dry sifting, wet washing, all the good solventless methods. Yeah, perfect. I just use the one and then I go on to my 4-screen kit. So if I feel like doing the little, sometimes I'll throw a little sift, just like brush it off of a plate onto the two 60 and 90 LPI mesh screens, which is basically the Dry Sift Wizard quick trick where you just, you could throw plant matter down. And it is pretty unique in the sense that the distance between the screens, it seems like the stuff that falls like this gets lodged into the holes, which is amazing because it's a very large hole, 180 microns, which is what 90 lines per inch is. So you start with a 250 micron down to a 180 micron. I always found it was just a little bit too slow to get like a couple of hits. So I prefer the 4x2, 4x4 screen where I can really card and process a lot of resin at once. What do I do with my 25 micron? Well, it depends. I've had 25 micron from Mullumbimby Madness cultivars out of Australia that has been the best of the best. Like it's the 73 or the 90. So I smoked the shit out of that. Generally, I used to, back in the day when I still smoked joints, I'd put 25 micron into joints because it was just so like, but nowadays I would probably press my 25, squeeze it out for rosin. The rosin is one of the beautiful things about bubble hash that the oil community kind of gets lost on, is that they're making a full spectrum, if you will, all of the gland heads, whether bulbous, capitate stalked, or sessile, they're extracting. That's why they get the higher yields. Whereas I'm isolating and mechanically separating through screens. the different micron sizes, which often attributes to also the different maturity rates. However, that being said, when using Reinhardt-Delp's method of the conical extractor, where you have the 5 gallon that goes down into a cone, if you mix really gently your material in water and ice on top of that unit, the first heads to fall down will be the most mature. And what's unique about it is they're not all the same size. There are mature heads in all the different size glands, or at least a good swath of those different size glands. So if it's here to here, it's like within this range that you're getting. So it's another unique way without the bags to do a quick first run it through the conical, open the valve for the shortest amount of time, and that little gram or two that pops out is going to be a full spectrum glandular trichome extraction without the normal diameter separation of what micron size it is. So pretty cool. Tony Bornfleth, you can pick them up at scientificfirst.com, and any of your other screen needs I have over at freshheadies.com. Well, Anthony, you know what? I'm inspired by all things cannabis. And I like to learn. So we might as well learn if we can. It makes things more easy to understand. It makes know-how easier to pick up when you have a full sort of round perspective overview, if you will. Overstanding, as my Rastafarian friends say. I used to understand, but now I overstand. So that's some Inakamosi, actually. Inakamosi. Maybe one more dab before we call it a day. What do you guys say? Haven't shown much hash yet today, so there's a little bit. This is about 16 grams, a little bit. It's as hard as a rock. Yes, okay, so what are we going to do? I think we're just going to do one of these kind of things. No problem, Nicholas. Happy to help. Happy to share. Happy to share. I should have had a terp dip there. You know what? Next Wake and Bake, we're going to specialize in a terp dip session. Go through a gauntlet of terpene flavors. Maybe some Swiss Tsunami, I'm thinking. Yeah, Swiss Tsunami is going to be on the list. Maybe some Lemon Tree. I think I puffed the Clementine and the Jack Frost, but I must have a couple others. Maybe it's time to go re-up. Well, I am too, Kaylee. I hope that it lasts. You know, these shows, you just never know. It becomes a lot of energy sometimes. Hash Church is an enormous amount of energy for me to focus and organize and get all those people together, and hope that they're going to bring their A game each time, and hope that they're going to really focus on the conversation and engage. And they are an amazing group of panelists. I got to give it up to them. They have made the show what it is, and but it's just so scary because it's no longer really in my hands. So I thought I would start the Wake and Bake series, make it short, 15 to 30 minutes sessions, puff a few bowls, drop some knowledge, and talk a little bit about the things that maybe I don't get to talk about on Hash Church so much, like bubble bags and dry sift screens and Blue River terpenes and all the fun things that I'm up to. Why not just press buds? Well, John Roberts, I'll tell you why we just don't press buds. Because there are subtle nuances that you only begin to understand once you take the path of the solventless quiver. So the solventless quiver is bubble hash, dry sift, and rosin. Rosin's great. It sounds like you've got to that point right there, but don't be stopped by that, because once again, because it's an oil process, you're extracting all of the glandular trichomes. So let's do a little quick lesson. There's 3 types of glandular trichomes, okay? We got the capitate stalked glandular trichome, we got the sessile stalked glandular trichome, and we have the bulbous, which does apparently sit on a stalk, but it's like 1 cell thick. It looks like it's flat. I've taken pictures of it. It's a flat little ball found on fan leaves. I've seen it at the literally the birth of a seed, cracking open, releasing the first 2 leaves that are round and called the cotyledon. Once the cotyledon opens up, the epicotyl comes out the center. I took some amazing macro photographs of this on my Flickr page, Flickr BC Bubbleman. I'll try to put them up in the comment section of this video because they have glandular trichomes on them. Sorry, not glandular in the sense of capitate stalked or sessile, but bulbous trichomes from the beginning of the plant's life cycle, which means what I've said from day one, that all of the medicinal components that are cannabinoids and terpenes are produced inside glandular trichomes, not inside the leaf structure, not inside the fiber. People were blending up the leaves and feeling effects. Of course, there are microscopic glands, bulbous glands. And so when you make oil, you're extracting those bulbous glands. And I'll tell you, although they will raise your levels, returns 5 to 10% higher than they would be with bubble hash, you are getting a grade of gland that I can promise you, had I separated it out mechanically and given it to you, you wouldn't want to smoke that one. It's not really the connoisseur gland head. I find that it has often producing higher levels of CBD. I find that it produces I don't want to say a lower quality of profile, but from a perspective of a smoker, and that someone that uses the medicine from a smoking perspective, it definitely is a lower value gland head. And when you make oil like rosin or BHO, you're taking all of these glands. Now, we as the mechanical screen separators, we are separating out all the glands by micron screen diameter. And when you do that, you notice immediately, anyone that's ever done it and looked at the 190 to the 25 knows for a fact that the diamonds are to be found in a certain area. And sure, if you grow impeccably and you pull out an expression that is beyond perfect and grow beautiful high-grade genetics, you can get from 190 all the way to 25 melty product. But it's rare. You don't see it as often. And what you do see more often is that certain gland heads are more attuned to the profile that the smoker is looking for. Now, if you're orally consuming it, that goes right out the door, although it may not, because we might also find that products like Prana that are taking the whole plant and sucking using plant fats, removing all of those cannabinoids from the plant, they might find that there is a high quality or a high level of therapeutic dosage needed for certain people that might be more attuned to buying a Prana that is all 90 micron or a Prana that is all 120 micron. So I see the value on both sides of the fence, but I see the value in not being able to separate out my glands into their sizes to be able to see that, and having just stuck with oil, it would have been less of a path. I would have learned less. So I say, don't choose one, choose them all, make it a quiver. They're all available to you in this day and age. We don't have to choose one anymore. So it's absolutely not water perspiration off the leaves, chilling like a villain. That's awesome. No, these are trichomes, absolutely 100% trichomes. I'm going to put the link to the macroscopic photos of the seeds from Flickr that show the epicotyl coming out with little glands on it. And I've taken these pictures, a ton of stuff. Stevie D, I believe it's going to be early May or end of April. I haven't talked to Tony for a while, so I'm going to have to get in touch with him soon and get an update. No, I haven't tried the terpene-infused CO2 vape pen cartridges. I'm not a big CO2 guy. I kind of stay away from those machines. Yeah. Man, I hope so, Nicholas. I really hope so. Is the Jamaican Seeds Orange Hill album? Is it the Jamaican Seeds? I'm not sure what that question is, Samurai Sam, but it's good to see you in the chat, dude. Yes, transparent, cloudy, and amber. Those are just maturity rates. Those aren't actually different kinds of trichomes. They're just the maturity of the particular trichome that you're looking at. So when I photograph plants, and I'll tell you, the majority of the plants, the majority of the sift that I photographed lately is all just white. And so when I photographed Skunkman Sam's sift, in fact, if you look at all the quiver has a really beautiful color to it. Not that I'm against all white gland heads, but I do appreciate maturity as I get older. Resinous plants will have trikes. Listen, males can have trikes, okay? These things are prevalent. They are important. It's not an accident. Oh, you got the link, Samurai Sam? That would be amazing if you could pump that up, because I don't really, I'm gonna, you know what, I'll go find it. In fact, thank you everyone for watching. 251 viewers. We're bumped it up from last time. I think we got up to 236 or something. You know I'm going to be back tomorrow. You know we're going to have another discussion. I think if we just keep it short, I think if you guys engage with me in the chat room, it's very helpful. I love seeing your questions. I love being able to answer them. And yeah, just thanks for coming out, everyone. I do appreciate it. I don't really use a loop. I have a macro camera, so it's very, very powerful. If you've looked at my pictures, you'll see they're microscope quality. In the sense of how close you get. You're welcome, Kello. All right. Yeah, I guess the thing will come up by the end of April. Well, Nicholas Koo, that will happen if all of you, not all of you, because that would be ridiculous, but some of you either like the video and also share it on your social media if you can. It's always helpful. If you guys are appreciating it and you have any topics that you want me to cover on Awake and Bake, throw it down in the comments section. Like I said, I'm super open to leaving this be a creation of ours, not just mine. So I want you, the audience, to help, you know, tell me what you want to see, tell me what you want to hear, and we will absolutely make that happen. And hopefully we'll have some guests in the near future. Make it into a hash church type of thing. But I can see once this show gets a little popular, people will want to come and, you know, share Awake and Bake with us. And who doesn't want to share Awake and Bake? I will leave you now with one last bong rip. And as always, what I always like to say is, may the full melt bless your bowl sooner than later. Peace out, everybody.